The past fortnight has seen a marked increase in the number of flu cases across the Hunter. Schools have been among the worst hit. At the Hunter School of Performing Arts at Broadmeadow today, almost 300 students were absent, with 12 teachers off work.
We're certainly getting anecdotal reports, particularly from schools, of lots of absenteeism among both teachers and pupils. The disease appears to be something which is hitting very quickly, high fevers, sore throat and cough. So it's a picture that is very typical of influenza.
Testing has revealed the Moscow and New Caledonian strains of the disease, and while both types are covered in this year's flu vaccinations, environmental factors can put you at risk.
Any institutional environment can lead to flu spreading very rapidly. Just putting a lot of people in the same room, closing doors and windows, close contact over a number of hours will lead to the spread of flu.
High-risk groups like the elderly and unwell can still take precautions against the flu season.
Could almost be too late. I hate to say it's too late, but if someone was over the age of 65 or had a chronic underlying lung or chest or heart condition, it'd be very wise to get a flu shot within the next couple of days if they haven't had one already.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
I'm of the opinion that all governments legislate and allocate their finance in the interests of all of the states.
Former colleagues say Charlie Jones will be best remembered as the voice of the working man. But according to former colleague Alan Morris, what made Charlie different to the rest was the way he went about his business.
I suppose they call him old school Labor. He was a man of very strong views, which he invariably put very forcibly, and but very straightforward. You always knew what Charlie thought about things, and you always knew where you stood with him.
An active trade unionist, Charlie did a boiler-making apprenticeship at BHP and later joined the State Dockyard until he was elected as Lord Mayor of Newcastle in 1956. In 1958, he became the member for Newcastle, holding the seat for 25 years until 1983, and served as Transport Minister in the Whitlam government.
He had a bit of a problem with intellectuals and eggheads, as he used to call them, and there were that kind of apprehension on his part that people who weren't as close to people on the ground and those working people wouldn't necessarily know what was best for them.
Charlie Jones was 85. Stephen Mount, NBN News.
Newcastle's Sunday Cafe crowd was given a sneak preview of the latest show by the world-famous Siberian Cossack dancers today. The multi-million-dollar production, which features 636 different costumes, has been described as one of Russia's most successful entertainment exports alongside the Bolshoi Ballet. The Siberian Cossacks will perform at the Newcastle Civic Theatre on October the 8th as part of its Australia-wide tour.
To look at the wreckage, it's hard to believe anyone survived this plane crash. Little more than the tail section remains. It's believed the 54-year-old pilot was attempting to land the Cessna at Whittingham Airport at around 6:15 last night when he overshot the runway and clipped the nearby railway line.
On impact, the aircraft looks like it's ruptured, and the ensuing grass fire spread down both sides of the railway easement.
The Queensland man and his 49-year-old wife managed to scramble from the wreckage. The Rural Fire Service was called to put out the grass fire. The couple was taken to Singleton Hospital. The woman escaped with just facial cuts, while the man suffered a broken wrist.
They're very lucky to get away with their life.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. If Harness Racing New South Wales has its way, competitive trotting at Maitland could soon be a thing of the past. The sport's governing body wants the club to merge with Newcastle, leaving the Maitland track to be only used for training. But the club's 75 trainers are vehemently opposed to the amalgamation. Today they continued their campaign to save the club, taking their protest to Sydney.
We're here because we're passionate about the industry, and we just want to let our voices known that we're not happy with the way things are going.
Members boarded a bus bound for Penrith Paceway to attend a statewide gathering of clubs which are attempting to block the rationalisation program. And although a decision is not expected until October at the earliest, the impact is already being felt.
There's 2 families moved from the area in the last couple of months, moved to Victoria. There are other people who have indicated that they will move interstate. There are trainers here that have indicated they won't renew licences. It's going to have a major impact on the whole area.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Teacher Alan Vero has come to dread Monday mornings.
Terrible.
His classroom has borne the brunt of 3 successive weekend attacks. In the latest, the room was ransacked and a computer and printer stolen. It's disruptive, but the hardest part is explaining the losses to his students.
Our students, have a limited understanding of things like that, and they're at a loss as to what is going on, and it's difficult for us to explain that something's wrong or missing from our room again.
The Lakeside school community moved from Belmont North to their new Gateshead home just weeks ago. It's been hit by thieves every weekend since.
Oh, we've lost most of our computers, most of our printers, all of our CD, cassette players, DVD players, phones, everything.
Last time, thieves even took a wheelchair, which has now been replaced by a generous donor. Security efforts have been doubled, and despite all the troubles, staff and students are determined to keep smiling.
We keep very positive. We've got a new school and that's what we wanted, so we're just taking this hopefully in our stride.
Natasha Bayersdorf, NBN News.
The gravel roads of Mount Royal were the state government's gift to Singleton Council during Bob Carr's caretaker days after the March state election. To council staff, Mount Royal and Castle's roads were goat tracks posing a public liability nightmare. After just 3 months, the state government has reversed its decision and taken back responsibility for both roads.
We fought the case on the facts. We were very fortunate to be able to get to see the Minister and present him with our submission and discuss that with him. He looked at it, he did take notice of it, and we did express to him our major concern, of course, was from the safety angle with the bushfires and emergency services.
However, that won't be the end of the issue. Council now wants the government to upgrade Castle's road so it's usable for emergency vehicles.
Particularly now with the talk of the bushfire season coming up and the predictions that are being made for another bad season, that needs to have priority attention paid to that.
Emergency Services Minister Tony Kelly has referred the problem to Roads Minister Carl Scully for investigation. Gary Blair, NBN News.
The big-hitting Barnes won the Australian Amateur title last year, but will join a field of the world's best at the famed Oakmont Country Club course on August 18 for the US title. And he'll start full of confidence after winning his qualifier at the Carolina Country Club by 2 shots. His opening round 62 was one off the course record, and he followed that with a 4-under par 66. He'll now join Belmont's Nick Flanagan in a tournament which hasn't been won by an Australian for 100 years. Lakes United will host the Northern Blues in Newcastle Rugby League's elimination semi-final this weekend, while the Torres will take on Cessnock for the right to meet Wests in the major semi. Muswellbrook's lean form continued in Group 21, beaten by Singleton. Scone, meanwhile, remain unbeaten and on track for not only the Premiership, but the Clayton Cup. The top four in NBN soccer finished this way, with Western and Hamilton to now fight for survival in the minor semi-final, while Broadmeadow and Edgeworth will meet in Sunday's major. Broadmeadow is also hoping to win an appeal for Jim Kresnar on Thursday night after he was suspended for 6 weeks last week. And in Premier League hockey, wins for North, Gosford and South, while Tigers drew with University.
Muswellbrook calls itself Blue Heeler Country. Following in the paw prints of the town's mascot, the local council has decided to muster the neighbours and chew over the contentious bone of local government amalgamations. The state government has been asked to review council services in the area bounded by Singleton, Merriwa and Murrurundi and to listen to public opinion.
The review hopefully will have a good look. It will consult with other councils, will consult with the community groups and individuals.
The whole range of council services will be examined to see if the area's 51,000 residents are getting value for their ratepayer dollar. The Local Government Boundaries Commission is now expected to examine Muswellbrook's proposal and can expect to receive opposition from Singleton, Scone, Merriwa and Murrurundi councils, who will collectively argue that a super council won't be viable. Next year's council elections could even be delayed if Mayor Colvin gets his way, so the proposal is fully investigated.
Because we think it would be unfair to hold elections while that process was going on.
Gary Blair, NBN News.
Matt Jobson drew the Warriors' attention after an almost perfect season, only disrupted by a recent shoulder injury. He's been back on the field a fortnight, and while the 22-year-old is looking forward to joining the New Zealand club, he admits the decision came down to dollars.
They had some pretty big name players to sign in Josh Perry and Daniel Abraham, and I was sort of down, and Robbie O'Davis as well, and I was sort of down the list a little bit on their priority list. And fortunately for me, an offer came up from the Warriors that basically was too good to refuse, in that the financial rewards were good and also the football opportunity was good.
The number 14 hopes to end his Newcastle playing day with the Knights, making the NRL playoffs. In the meantime, Matt says Friday's home game against his future teammates will be a challenge, even if Stacey Jones doesn't make an on-field appearance.
And they had a great win against St George on the weekend, so whether he plays or not, I think it'll be a tough game.
Sarah Bamford, NBN News.
With a $28 million upgrade underway, it should be an exciting time for Belmont Hospital. But it's a health facility facing serious problems revealed by overstretched staff.
Systems of care, some of the issues around how we've staffed the emergency department, also about how staff have worked in relation to each other in teams.
Hunter Health says unprofessional conduct by some staff has been part of the problem, but concedes management also needs to do more to heal Belmont's wounds. It says it's made a number of important changes over the past few months, especially to ease the pressure.
We've employed more doctors and we've got them on better rosters, and that was one of the issues that we did improve as a result of the concerns that were raised.
Hospital management will also continue to look at how the facility can be better resourced to offer the best care to patients. Hunter Health says the changes have been well received by Belmont staff and morale is now building. It's also moved to shore up public confidence in the facility.
The community can have every confidence that Belmont Hospital is a hospital that can provide the best care.
Natasha Bayersdorf, NBN News.
Down after an early Terrace onslaught, country halfback Kane Bradley made an impression as he continues his return from injury. Used to scoring them himself, Terrace number 7 Jamie Batty has a hand or boot in most of his teammates' tries as well. Picking up the pieces from his own kick, he soon had Les Smith over as the Terrace continued to pile on the points. But the Goannas struck back either side of half-time to really put the pressure on. A pinpoint Bradley kick setting up another Cessnock 4-pointer as they closed the gap on the Magpies. Andrew Taylor came under plenty of fire too from the Terrace defence. But it went a little too far. An incident in back play soon had the home side down to 12 men. When Cessnock went over again to take a 28-22 lead, they thought the match was theirs, but a late surge by the Terrace got them home and into the major semi-final.
For Brian and Stan, doing this computer course at the Royal Blind Society has changed their entire outlook on life.
After becoming blind or vision impaired, I didn't want to stop at home just vegetating. I just wanted to get out and get my life together again.
Advances in technology has seen things change from this to this.
Computers is the way to go for us who are vision impaired. We have these computers now that talk to us, and we can't really go wrong with it. You know, we hit a key and it tells us what we've done.
Just 3% of the Royal Blind Society's clients are actually blind. The organisation offers a range of computer courses for people with differing degrees of vision impairment. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Interest in netball is at an all-time high in the Hunter, with as many as 10,000 players hitting the courts every week. The region's elite state side, Hunter United, is into its second season, and netball administrators say there's plenty of talent and support locally for a national team.
We've provided quite a number of national players over the years, and at the current time we have two of our local players who have come from within Newcastle Association actually playing in the National League, and that's Lara Wellham and Kimberly Gilmore.
Del Saunders believes local government and business would support a top-flight squad and says it's only a matter of time until the dream becomes a reality.
Whether it be this time round or next time round, but we won't give up until we get a team representing the Hunter in the National League.
New South Wales officials have already signalled their support for a Newcastle-based team.
After an indifferent start, once the Newcastle Hunters kicked into gear, they've been unstoppable. But finishing first in the ABA Waratah League doesn't mean there are any second chances in the final series this weekend at Shoalhaven on the state south coast.
It's a do-or-die situation, and we've got to come out and perform. We had a good session last night, and I think we're ready to show them a thing or two.
MVP of the league for the last 2 years, Barnett's already had another year to remember, signing up to play NBL with the Pirates. But first things first, and that's achieving some more goals.
We've got 3 teams going away for this competition. All our senior men's teams have got through, and that hasn't been done by Newcastle before.
The side will meet the 4th-placed Hills Hornets tomorrow night for the chance to play in the decider on Sunday. And if they take that out, it's the national finals the following week at Bendigo.
Good evening, Cancer Helpline. How can I help you? Blah, blah.
It's the second highest building block in Port Stephens, and parliamentarian and councillor Bob Baldwin wants to build his dream home here overlooking his constituents.
And that will dominate the entire area with a massive building that now affects our privacy on the home that we've built.
The size of the dwelling, I can't see why anyone would need a house that big, but Bob's a big guy.
Bob's latest house plans were knocked back recently by the council because of size and plans to build over a stormwater easement. But two councillors have appealed the decision, prompting a special meeting tomorrow night to discuss the issue amid claims of foul play.
Those allegations have been made. They've been considered by the Department of Local Government, who've made a decision that there is nothing has happened untoward in the process to date.
The neighbours say everyone should be made to follow the rules.
All around Port Stephens, there are people who have been rejected to build over an easement, and now if he does get that permission, I'm sure that will open up a line of claims.
Bob was down in Canberra today, but he told us that if his council colleagues don't approve his dream home overlooking the bay, he'll be off to the Land and Environment Court. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
It's been a hard slog for wool growers in recent months, but despite the all too familiar devastating effects of the drought, wool quality appears to be on the rise.
The wools are testing a lot sounder, the tensile strength has improved a hell of a lot, and we're hoping that the sale tomorrow is going to bring good news.
Newcastle broker Craig Brennan says this latest offering of superfine wool from the Northern Tablelands and Upper Hunter is by far an improvement on the first sale last month, and buyers agree.
The style's definitely improved. It's average spinners mainly to best top making. It's very suitable for a lot of our Italian clients.
For the tensile strengths and for the brightness of the wool, we hope we get good returns tomorrow.
But this time around, the focus is on quality, not quantity, with bale numbers down by 7,000 on last year's sale. And given the standard of this offering, bidding is expected to be fierce, with current financial conditions working to the advantage of the European buyer.
The euro is still reasonably competitive against the Australian dollar, and hope for tomorrow that especially the Europeans will be very strong.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
It's hard to believe spring temperatures pushing 40 degrees, but they have, and many of us have been caught off guard.
People may not be acclimatised, they may have forgotten what to do in hot weather. So our advice from the ambulance service is to make sure you drink plenty of fluids, that especially young children and the elderly, and keep out of the sun, especially between 10 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Many braved cold waters to cool off at the beach, while some soldiered on through the heat to complete the weekly game of bowls. The latest spring fashions are showing plenty of skin, with bikini tops and shorty shorts among the favourites. While most can take the heat on the chin, infants and the elderly could face a real health risk.
Can lead to what we call heat exhaustion, heat stroke. So if anyone starts showing symptoms of, say, feeling dizzy, nausea, vomiting, headache, things like that, and feeling very hot and running high temperatures, then they should be taken in, put into the shade, cooled down and given water to drink. And if they don't recover, then they should ring 000 and get an ambulance out to them.
We'll have the latest on the hot spell later in the weather.
The Victoria Hotel Hinton is both a landmark and a piece of history. Thirsts have been quenched here since 1840, putting it among the state's longest continuously operating pubs. Publican Dick Martin is now part of that colourful past as one of the Vic's longest owners after pulling beers here for a decade. But that ends in November after the pub recently sold at auction for more than $1 million, allowing the Martins to find a new, easier business challenge.
Very hard decision to make, and it took a long, long time to make it. It'll be a very sad day when we go.
One additional job Dick passes to the new owners, who are a local family, is that of flood monitor for the SES when the Patterson River rises and inundates the surrounding river flats. It's a community service that mixes well with business.
And people actually like to come and get stranded in the village because that's where the fun is. And it's a pretty exciting time. You've got to bring the kegs in and boats and all this sort of thing, but we get by.
And the Martins have more than floods for memories thanks to the locals.
The Hinton crowd knows how to party, so we've had some great times here, great times.
Barrington Guesthouse, northwest of Dungog, is another Hunter landmark destined to have a new owner soon. The business has been placed in receivership and put up for sale. Gary Blair, NBN News.
Negotiating coastal bar crossings where a river meets the ocean can be extremely dangerous in the wrong conditions, as these people discovered last year. From Wednesday next week, anyone crossing a bar will be required by law to wear a life jacket or face a $200 on-the-spot fine.
Most people do have life jackets, as they should have, in their vessels, but we still have a small problem with a small number of people that put their lives at risk and the lives of people that have to come and assist them by not wearing their life jackets. Enough's enough. It's time for them to get the message, and this $200 on-the-spot fine will reinforce that.
The Minister announced the new law at the Newcastle Boat Show today, keen to reduce the more than 200 incidents each year where people come unstuck crossing a bar.
If you are going to engage in recreational boating, and we strongly encourage you to do that because of our wonderful coastline, you do need to take adequate precautions, and life jackets are absolutely critical.
Meantime, the Newcastle Boat Show runs all weekend, displaying the latest trailer boats, speedboats and dinghies, a large live fishing tank, but nothing for the sailors. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
It hasn't been taught in most classrooms for years, but teachers at Whitebridge High School say basic etiquette is essential, socially and professionally.
Confidence sometimes is just a lack of knowledge on things, so they get into situations like maybe formal situations where they're not quite sure what to do, so their confidence goes down, so the self-esteem goes down.
In an age of TV dinners, most teenagers don't know basic table manners, But over the past 5 weeks, the Shine program has taught these girls the know-how.
People think, maths isn't going to help me with what I want to do, but this course will actually help you with whatever you want to do. It would be anything.
They've also been advised to plan their futures now by setting goals to make their dreams become a reality.
I can see already the girls have their self-confidence improved, their self-esteem's improved, they get excited about it, they turn up on time.
And last night, the girls had the opportunity to well and truly shine. Their skills in grooming, manners and deportment were put to the test at the Crown Plaza. Teachers admit boys could also benefit if similar skills were taught in their program. After all, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. Lyndall Derrig, NBN News.
Billionaire businessman Frank Lowy and his hand-picked board haven't taken long to put the cleaners through the game's governance, and it starts from the top. Gone is the current structure of Soccer Australia, to be replaced by the Australian Soccer Association.
The new company will assume responsibility for the staff and programs and ordinary trade creditors of the old Soccer Australia.
Put simply, current employees and competitions run by Soccer Australia will remain. It's the way things that are run that will change, with the ASA to be structured in accordance with the Australian Sports Commission's Crawford report.
Each state and territory will now be invited to join the new company as members with the new state constitution along the same lines.
However, the ASA will recognise only one state body, meaning the Northern New South Wales Soccer Federation, which oversees some 42,000 playing members, will have to merge, placing 10 full-time jobs in jeopardy along with 60 casual employees.
We'll fight, and we'll certainly do it on the political sense, in that we'll be talking to the other members of Soccer Australia, and if that fails, we'll have to look at other aspects.
State bodies will have 90 days to heed the changes, while next on the list of restructure will be the National Soccer League.
We will begin to develop the blueprint for a new national soccer competition, hopefully launched for the 2004 season, but there is much work to be done.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Since 1985, the Jack Newton International Junior Classic has called the Oaks at Cessnock home and has hosted some players who would go on to be household names. Among the 240 golfers taking part this year is sure to be the next Kari Webb or Aaron Badley.
I think this group of boys that are coming through are probably as good of boys as we've had for a while. The girls tend to be dominant over the last decade, I'd say, and to the point where we've got girls now on the US tour.
Sydney's Sarah Kemp is considered a bright prospect in the women's ranks, and the current #1 female golfer in Australia has so far proved those predictions right. Today's round of 5 over could be put down to the wet weather, but this putt for birdie at the 9th showed she isn't someone to always play safe. Competitors have travelled from throughout Asia and even South Africa to compete, but Andrew Dodd has only come from Queensland to take a mortgage on this year's men's title. Today he shot his second 4 under 68 in a row to finish the day at 8 under, 4 shots clear of his nearest rival. Among those is Julian Reynolds. His round of 1 over 73 though didn't get him any closer to Dot. The tournament finishes up tomorrow. Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
While the Newcastle Ocean Baths are structurally sound, its pavilion is deteriorating rapidly. Newcastle Council is considering a number of options to preserve the historic landmark. It could be demolished and rebuilt at a cost of around $5 million. But an alternative has been recommended. It involves passing an electrical current through the building to stop corrosion. That system would cost around $1.5 million.
It's a lot of money, and we're told that when that process is completed, it will have an ongoing effect. It's not something that's got to be done again in another 5 or 10 years.
It's just another expense to add to Council's list. More than $2 million is needed to stabilise the cliff faces above the Shortland Esplanade and the Bogey Hole.
And clearly the baths, the Esplanade, Shortland Esplanade and the Bogey Hole, I think, take priority over Surf House.
The future of the Merewether Surf House could be known next month when a 12-month heritage order expires. Meanwhile, the Beresfield pool opened for the season today. A solar system has just been installed. The sun heats the water in these black pipes. It's then pumped back into the pool, where the temperature can reach a comfortable 24 degrees. Lyndall Derrick, NBN News. It's all hands on deck as these music students prepare for one of the busiest weeks of their lives. They've spent all year planning a major music expo, which gets underway in Wheeler Place on Sunday.
We're all having a ball, we're learning so much, we're meeting so many interesting people, and it will really help us with our career in the long run in everything to do with the music industry.
The students have managed to recruit international and Australian music experts for workshops, seminars and, of course, entertainment. The students say organising the event has given them experience money can't buy.
Well, I'm looking to get a career in event management, so this is perfect. This is sort of right up my alley.
Meanwhile, the Hunter Street TAFE campus is showcasing works in this year's Reg Russer Memorial Drawing Prize. Fine arts student Joshua Brennan won first prize in the event, which was open to anyone under the age of 25.
The USA is a world-renowned giant in so many sports, but the respect and fear it demands from opponents doesn't quite extend to rugby union. That was the case until this year's World Cup. Not only did the Americans make Scotland work for its win, but it also nearly stole the game away from the more fancied Fijians. Still, like any team, near enough isn't good enough.
We're competitors, and you want to go into every game with, put your best performance and always try to come out with a victory. So that was, we didn't go into any of our matches not thinking toward victory. So when you look at it that way, we were a little bit disappointed.
The team is basing itself in Newcastle ahead of next Monday night's pool match against Japan, and the game represents the best chance for the team to realise its main goal for the World Cup, to win at least one match and only the second ever at the event for the USA Eagles. They already have a win over Japan this year, but are only too aware how tough the Cherry Blossoms will be.
Their performance in the World Cup has been good, but we knew that they were going to be a strong team. They're very resilient, very fit. And they can match you physically, so we'll be prepared for that.
Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
Dean Johnson may have been dealt one of life's toughest blows, becoming wheelchair-bound after a water skiing accident 13 years ago. But sheer determination and a will to return to his job as a draftsman and technician have seen him overcome what was thought to be the impossible. With the help of a stand-up wheelchair, the 32-year-old is now taking on all his duties independently, including jobs that in the past were out of reach.
Doing a lot more things that I didn't expect to be able to do, but I am doing a lot more now, and it's great.
The $12,000 machine was imported from Sweden thanks to support from the Commonwealth Rehabilitation Service and Dean's Workplace Multi-Skilled Resources, who installed this system, giving him access to the entire building.
These guys are just helping me remove obstacles and do more things.
Dean's determination and our determination has assisted Dean in getting to where he is today.
And the benefits go far beyond the workplace.
Well, my wife tends to hide things she doesn't want me to get to or put things out of reach, and it's made life a lot easier there too. I can get into things that she doesn't want me to get into.
It appears to me.
It was normal operations today for 76 Squadron Hawks following their operational approval by Defence Minister Robert Hill. An environmental impact statement has seen 25 conditions placed on the aircraft's use of the Williamtown base and Saltash air weapons range. A major theme of the approval is for closer contact between the RAAF, Port Stephens Council and residents on fighter aircraft activity. While Saltash Public School appears set to benefit from noise reduction measures, there's still concern for residents.
And what we really would like to see is a proper on-ground noise study done to see what noise levels the residents of Saltash in particular and Port Stephens in general are exposed to.
However, the Air Force says the Hawks' operating conditions will tackle the noise problem.
That's particularly important because the Hawk actually does take a big load off the Hornet. So that means our cost of operations, the actual noise that we generate, can all be reduced.
Williamtown Base and the Saltash Range are also in the spotlight because of their historical and Indigenous significance. The Australian Heritage Commission is proposing to include both areas in the register of the National Estate. However, the move's unlikely to affect the operation of either facility. Gary Blair, NBN News.
This RTA crew was laying cat-eye reflectors just metres from where the southbound Holden Ute ploughed into a roadworks signal unit and small truck on the Pacific Highway.
The driver on the utility, unfortunately, has passed away here at the scene, and also the driver of the RTA vehicle, he's been taken away with shock and with minor injuries.
Witnesses say the driver of the ute failed to observe roadwork warnings, with some claiming the man was reaching speeds of up to 130 kilometres per hour as he approached the site.
Our preliminary inquiry reveals to us that they were complying with those standards, things like roadwork signs and warnings and at certain distances, and also the illumination of the vehicle that was actually trying to protect the men that were working on the road.
The highway was closed in both directions but was reopened momentarily to allow some traffic through while a police investigation was carried out. At one stage, northbound motorists were kept at a standstill 4 kilometres from the scene. The highway was completely reopened at 2 this afternoon. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
There were 88 drownings in New South Wales last year, 13 of those in the Hunter Valley alone. It's a statistic the Royal Lifesaving Society is desperately trying to change. More than 30,000 toddlers and school students in the Port Stephens area have been through water safety programs, and an additional 2,000 are expected to take part this summer.
Toddler drowning is the major cause of death in children under 5, so it's important that parents bring their children along to learn how to swim and look after them when they're in and around any aquatic environment.
Doesn't mean the parents can take their eyes off their kids just because the kids learn to swim, but it just gives them that confidence, so if they do get in trouble, gives the parents time to react and get them out.
It's hoped the programs will be adopted by councils across the state, and while they're largely aimed at young people, there are a few messages for adults.
Wherever there's water, there's danger, and there's that potential for drownings.
And sadly, that's true with those in the 25 to 54 year age bracket facing the greatest risk of drowning. Swimmers are urged to ensure they're always equipped with safety gear and are encouraged never to undertake water activities alone. Colleen West, NBN News. The original Chichester pipeline was built across the river at Bandon Grove in 1923 and was later concrete encased to act as a weir.
We found that the fish were schooling in the bottom below the weir and just couldn't get up.
That's all changed now following the construction of a rock ramp, which mimics a shallow rocky area in the river and provides a gentle slope for fish to swim over the weir and migrate upstream.
We've been monitoring the success of the fishway ever since it was finished, and we're already seeing species like Australian bass travelling over the fishway and up the river, which is terrific.
The project has opened 40 kilometres of the Williams River that were previously off-limits to many fish species. Today, New South Wales Fisheries and the Hunter Water Corporation celebrated months of hard work and $220,000 well spent. It's hoped the project will improve the health of the Williams River by replenishing the waterways with fish stocks, and local anglers should expect a few less headaches when trying to find that perfect catch.